Hi Gemini and Gemini Rising, this is your April 2017 forecast. So last month I spoke a bit about the significance of Venus retrograde, and Venus will stay retrograde until the 15th of April, so if you want a refresher on that, just click the beginning of one of my March forecasts. This month your ruling planet Mercury goes retrograde, and although most of us are familiar with the significance of Mercury retrograde, it bears some discussion. So of course the general signification of Mercury retrograde is where we see the trickster aspect of Mercury. So Mercury can play havoc with machinery and equipment. Mercury rules the mind and communication, and it's how we speak, how we communicate, how we make connections, and very often with Mercury retrograde we can find a lot more misunderstandings than usual. You know, we're just not on the same page as other people, so we need to check our understanding and be a little bit more careful in words and speech. Mercury can also play the trickster energy with lost objects, so things go missing, car keys, cell phones, that sort of thing. So a bit of hide and seek going on as well. But Mercury is also the divine messenger, and where Mercury goes retrograde in our chart, it can show us where we need to stop, pause, and reflect and review. So Mercury is also like a signpost telling us where to pay attention. So let's see where Mercury is going retrograde in your chart this month. One thing about your planetary energies this month is there's a bit of a relay thing going on. You know, you'll find you'll have a planet in the 12th house and another planet in the 1st house. So Mercury is going to be in the 12th house while the Sun is in the 11th house. So there's a bit of a contrary war going on. You know, with the Sun in the 11th, it's a very sociable sector. It's focused on friends, group activities, that sort of thing. But Mercury will be in the 12th house at this time. So Mercury in the 12th can show that you're going to need some periodic seclusion from social events. So a need for a bit more quiet time alone, retreat. You find that, you know, ideas are simmering beneath the surface and emotions as well. The 12th house is that house of self-undoing. Sorrow, regrets can come up at this time. So Mercury in the 12th until the 21st. With Mercury in the 12th, this can be very good for your spiritual life, you know, more than any other time or placement. This can show, you know, it's a good time to meditate, you know, good time to, you know, maybe make an altar or make a ritual for yourself. So releasing things, reviewing things, paying attention to all kinds of messages, synchronicities, and of course the messages from dreams. So, like I said, the Sun, while Mercury is in the 12th house, is going to be in your 11th house. So, of course, the Sun in the 11th typically shows a very sociable period. It's all about being part of a community, reaching out for support, focusing on goals and objectives. It's very future-orientated. So thinking about your goals, making connections both personally and professionally, it's usually a period of light-hearted social activity. So with Mercury in your 12th, it could just mean that, you know, like I said, you need some periodic reflection and review and quiet time. You know, so in between the hustle and bustle, taking time out to be alone, to pause and reflect and review. And, you know, just, you know, having a bit more, like I said, quiet time and paying more attention to dreams, synchronicities, and those kinds of messages. So Mercury will be moving into your 11th house from the 21st onwards, and Mercury in the 11th is a good time to catch up with old friends and look up people that you've been thinking about. So perhaps your thoughts have turned to people that you've known in the past that you've lost touch with. So it might be a good time to rekindle certain friendships. On the other hand, with Mercury in the 11th, it's also a good time to weed out social connections that don't serve you any longer. So if friendships or certain relationships have passed their sell-by date or don't have any real value for you anymore, or perhaps people have let you down too many times, it's time to get rid of those connections and focus on your real friends. So save your time and energy for people who really matter. It's also the house of goals, dreams, and objectives. So with Mercury retrograding here, it's a good time to pick up dreams from the past. So, you know, things that perhaps during busy or difficult times you've lost track of, it's time to rekindle those dreams and to pursue them and to put energy and research into developing them. So like I said, the Sun is going to be in your 11th house until the 20th of the month. So this traditionally a more social placement for the Sun, focused on group activities and activities with friends. Also, activities with children can also take a surge with the Sun in the 11th. So typically a sociable period. So with Mercury, there are some ideas you're keeping to yourself though at this time. So from the 20th, the Sun moves into your 12th house. Now the 12th house is that house of isolation, self-undoing, and really it's a very spiritual house as well, because it's where we have to confront our own demons and things from our past. But with the Sun in the 12th, of course, the Sun is in this placement in the month leading up to your birthday cycle. So this is where it's the natural ending of certain cycles and the beginning of new ones. So this is where we pause, reflect, and review, and so focus on the year past and see what attachments we want to let go of and what we want to take with us into the future. So it's really just reflecting and reviewing on the year behind you and preparing for the new solar year and the more active period when the Sun moves into your first house. So of course, while the Sun is in your 12th house, other things are happening. And like I said, it is a bit of a contrary month for you, because while the Sun is in your 12th house, you've got Venus in your 10th. So Venus in the 10th is very good for professional and business connections. It helps make your interactions with bosses and authority figures and people that you work with very pleasant and harmonious. Venus in the 10th is also very good for attracting things that are and circumstances that benefit you professionally. It's also very good for creative work. So regardless of what you do, you may find that you've got more creative scope and leeway at this time. For some people, Venus in the 10th can be, an office romance, something, particularly with people that are above our station. But this is not very often the case, but it can be a signification of Venus in the 10th. So Venus in the 10th going direct from the 15th, so you can find your creativity and, your professional activities pick up at this time with Venus being direct. So Mars is going to be in your 12th house until the 21st of the month. So Mars in the 12th is actually a little bit more frustrated, feels like it's not getting recognition. But since you've got Venus working so well for you in your 10th house, Mars in the 12th is going to show more likely projects and ideas and things that you're developing, researching, going over and preparing to launch when Mars goes into your first house, which of course happens from the 21st onwards. So Mars in the first house, this is very good for goals, ambitions, it's also very good for physical vitality and health. So Mars in the first can be a very upbeat, independent period of activity where you're really able to showcase your talents and abilities. So, advancing goals and objectives. But again, like I said, there's a bit of a contrariness here because the Sun is in the 12th house. So this could be energy that's being used to finish up old business, the business of the previous solar year, preparing for a new cycle, starting to get new things off the ground. So let's look at the aspects this month. On the 5th, we've got Mars trining Pluto from your 12th to your 8th house. And Mars and Pluto in conjunction can show a lot of creativity and energy. And for you, this can be on work that you're doing behind the scenes. So this is sustained energy and one can accomplish a lot. So if you are researching and developing a project behind the scenes, this will be very good for getting things done there. On the 8th, we've got Venus squaring Saturn from the 10th to your 7th house. Now, Venus and Saturn in hard aspect can show a bit of inhibited emotions, repressed emotions. It can also be dejection or isolation due to, rejected advances, or our own affections towards someone might be a little bit more chilled at this time. So for you, this could be around people that you work with or a partner, a significant partner. So feeling a little bit standoffish and a little bit cool. So time to back up and reassess. On the 9th, we've got the Sun squaring Pluto from your 11th to your 8th house. And the Sun and Pluto can really show power struggles, particularly with the 8th house being involved. So there can also be intensity in experiences. So, this could be happening beneath the surface too. So just a lot of charged emotions. But if one encounters this with other people or authority figures, it can be people on an ego trip, people on a power trip. So you may just want to duck your head and watch out. So on the 11th, we've got the full moon happening in Libra in your 5th house, and this is, of course, a very sociable sector of the chart. So here, if you have been spending time alone, maybe it's time to accept a social invitation, do something creative, or do something just for fun. If there's a romance that's been developing, it can kind of reach its zenith, or there can be some kind of peak experience there. Or you may want to pour your heart out to a loved one. This can also show a flurry of activity with children in particular. On the 14th, we've got the Sun conjuncting Uranus in your 11th house. And the Sun and Uranus in the 11th, this is where you want to try something different, break out of the mold of routine. So this can be with a friend, so it could be an exciting new contact that you're making. So new contacts or, a new type of experience that you want to share with a friend. So be flexible at this time and do something different. On the 17th, we've got the Sun trining Saturn from your 11th to your 7th house. So the Sun and Saturn can really show a lot of ambition, serious concerns and subjects, and for you this can be around partnerships and goals and objectives. So, this is where you put a little bit more thought and planning into these things. So, doing your due diligence with regards to goals and objectives or something that you want to achieve within partnerships. On the 20th, we've got Mercury conjuncting the Sun in your 12th house. So this can be, a moment of clarity, and for you this could be a spiritual insight. If you have been spending more time on your own or time out, this could give you a kind of aha moment, kind of clarity on something. So be prepared for some kind of mental epiphany with this conjunction. On the 24th, we've got Mercury now trining Saturn from your 11th to your 7th house. And Mercury and Saturn also very good for serious subjects, good for learning and education matters, good for tedious rather than inspired work. So again, if you're working towards goals and objectives, this is where you can really develop them. Spend time with, planning and with foresight. So more, and this is where, you leave the more inspired activity for later on, but do what needs to be done or what you least feel like doing to get that goal and objective realized. So good for tedious work, in other words. So the new moon is in Taurus in your 12th house, and with the new moon in Taurus, this happens the month before the new moon in your first house. So with the new moon in your 12th house, this can be, like I said, good for review, for letting go, for, kind of considering the year behind you. It also heightens our sensitivity towards the needs of others. And again, looking for some quiet time. It's time to do a bit of soul searching. And like I said, it's the natural ending of some cycles and the beginning of some new ones. And with the new moon in Taurus, this is also going to be a great time for grounding activities. So very good for aromatherapy and massage, that sort of thing. Really pamper yourself. That could be the best way to connect and recharge your batteries. So the month ends with Mercury conjunct Uranus in your 11th house. And Mercury and Uranus can show some excitement, some fast-paced thinking, but it can also show, a racing mind and being overstimulated. So, you want to watch out for scattered energy. When these two planets are working well together, it can be good for sudden insights, ideas, and it can be exciting news. And for you, this could be around friendships and group activities. If you've enjoyed this forecast, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to book a personal reading, you can visit my website at www.psyche.co.za to book a consultation. Thanks again for tuning in.